Do you feel like you're too busy to enjoy your life? It doesn't have to be that way. It is a choice. So to wake up every day, being in our head, thinking about what we need to get done, especially if you're a parent of young children, it can feel difficult, if not impossible, to not just stay busy. And we use that as an excuse subconsciously. It's an excuse. I don't have time to take 5 minutes for myself. I don't have time to go do something that's just for me. But what price do we pay? And not only that, but we actually do have a choice. When I became aware that I had a choice, that I didn't just have to live in survival mode, getting up early every day, especially taking care of a young child. And yes, it's going to be different. There is a different reality if we're taking care of another human being. Yes. And maybe it is more challenging to find time, but it is not impossible. And we do have the ability to choose. No one makes us do anything. We have shoulds running, we have beliefs and values and all these things. And yes, there is some sacrifice. And if we were just completely focused on ourselves and not taking care of those others, young children, pets, different things, there are going to be some negative consequences. So I'm not suggesting be completely out of touch with a reality where we do have some commitments, yes, and there is some sacrifice. But it doesn't have to be 24/7, because what happens a lot for us women, high achieving, sensitive, empathic women, we often don't know how to do anything enjoyable for ourselves, prioritizing ourselves for even 10 minutes, 30 minutes a day. And if we don't do that, we get to burnout. And I have been there. So if you are running your life like that, believing that there's no way to add in one more thing, making time for yourself, you're only going to deplete yourself, and then you won't be there to take care of anyone else. So if you resonate with this, maybe you're close to exhaustion. There's a real thing related to exhaustion called adrenal fatigue. Adrenal exhaustion. I think there's different stages of adrenal, maladaptive adrenals functioning, and that has to do with being too stressed for too long. And it is a very real thing. I recovered from it. It's the hardest time of my life, where I was just so exhausted. And then everything's backwards. Your cortisol levels are all upside down. And so when you want to go to bed, you're not tired, and you're tired, different times of the day. And we just keep going. We just keep pushing through. Instead of, looking at feeding ourselves healthy food, trying to address these imbalances in whatever ways we get help from, physicians, whatever it might be, sometimes supplements. But we have to stop pushing through, because we are not going to get better from that place. But we often won't stop and look at things until we can't do what we're doing anymore. And that was me. I just kept going. I was a go, 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 do. And when I got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore, boy, that woke me up. Realized I was in a job I couldn't do anymore. It was stressing me out so much. And I just felt like, well, I just got to do this. Finally, I was like, no, I don't got to do this. But we just don't make these changes lightly, and that's okay. It's okay. But my passion is, if there's anything I can share with someone that shortens the duration of that suffering. We don't have to suffer. Suffering is optional. We really can stop and make some changes that will really create such an improvement in our life. And why don't we do that? Guilt, shame, feeling responsible for other people. And yes, we are responsible for our young children, but it doesn't have to be at the sacrifice of our own well-being. So I invite you to really tune in and see if any of this feels true for you. And you can start with little things. Start by carving out 30 seconds, ideally at the beginning of the day, but do it when you can. 30 seconds. Put your hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Take a few breaths. And invite your body to even 1% more calmness. When you start doing that more and more, 30 seconds, a minute, you don't have to do it longer than a couple minutes, but it needs to be done regularly. You have to train your nervous system, help it feel safe to calm down. This is going to help you get out of your head. Your head, the amygdala, it's all firing and keeping you going at this high pace that your body can't handle. And we all have different levels of that. It's not one way for everybody. We all have a different makeup in our body, and we don't all have equal levels of energy. And certainly not if we're not feeding ourselves well, getting enough rest, if you're not getting enough sleep. And there's a lot that goes into sleep. It's another topic for another video, but if we're anxious and we're high achieving, we're probably struggling with sleep. And we go all day. And then we're like, well, why can't I sleep at night, right? So it's the self-care's got to start early in the day and making these changes. Not for short term, not to cope and manage, but as a way of life. My entire life changed when I started believing I'm worth it, that I can't be there for others if I'm not taking care of myself, that I needed to get out of a job that was completely burning me out, and then created freedom in my life where I can make my own schedule, have more control, more say over what I do and how I do it. And that might seem impossible. You might feel like, well, that's not an option for me. And it's okay. You don't have to leave your job. But what I'm saying is these changes are possible, and it's often unimaginable. All the amazing possibilities. If you quiet your mind, get out of your head, it's only going to keep you in what it knows. And what we know up here is a fraction of what is possible, because we're not alone. There's higher consciousness. You have a higher wisdom in your higher self, your intuition. Some of us believe we can access a wisdom and a consciousness outside of ourselves. Can call it angels, God, spirit guides. You don't even have to, it doesn't even have to have a name. But when I get quiet and I quiet my mind and I ask an open question, even like, what do I need to know right now? Real general. There's something called automatic writing. There's lots of tools. There's lots of ways to access that. And that's where you just ask a question and you just write. And you might at first feel like your mind is answering it, but if you do, and you do it enough and you get practiced at it, and there's a lot of guidelines, helpful guidelines on that, you start accessing something that you're like, I couldn't come up with that. My mind could not have come up with that. But it all starts with just the basic, and I love the heart-centered place to start, because the heart has its own brain. It actually is designed to begin to bring more calm and access that place, and it can inform your brain. It isn't just your brain informing the rest of your body. And it's often hard to believe that this would be possible, but once you start and you do it again, like 30 seconds or a minute, and I have a couple of guided visualizations for this on my channel here. And so just really begin to allow yourself to experience another level of consciousness. Get out of your head. Decide you're not just going to be busy as a way of life. And notice the changes that can happen in your life. If you have any questions, if you want more help, I do offer one-on-ones. I have about 4 slots I'm going to open up for some one-on-one coaching. I'm going to be expanding into offering some programs, but for right now, just want to start, meet people where they're at, get a sense of what people need from a program. And I'm certainly going to be offering some more resources in addition to the free ones that I'll keep creating here, because you don't have to suffer and you're not alone.